What was the largest structure built by the Mesopotamians? Ziggurat. What were the favorite foods of the Mesopotamians? Bread, beer. For whom were the pyramids primarily built? Pharaohs. What is the name of the statue with a lion's body and a human face, symbolizing Pharaoh's authority? Sphinx. What is the name of the stone used to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs? Rosetta Stone. Which animal was considered sacred by the people of the Indus civilization? Cow. Who is the famous pharaoh known as the Boy King? Tutankhamun. What is the primary ingredient of the ink we use traditionally? Soot from burning pine wood. What symbol appears most frequently in oracle bone inscriptions, reflecting the significance of weather and agriculture? Rain symbol, U. What numeral system did Babylonia use that influences today's time and angular measurements? Sexagesimal, base 60, system. What was the economic hub of Babylonia? Babylon. What was the perceived relationship between Babylonian kings and gods? Believed to be deputies of the gods. Why was trade active in Babylon? Due to the waterways of the Euphrates River. What sporting activity did Assyrian kings undertake to prove their bravery? Lion hunting. What was the central city of the Minoan civilization that flourished on the island of Crete? Gnosis. What were the primary materials used by the Minoans for tools and weapons? Bronze and obsidian. What major battle technique developed in the Mycenaean civilization helped maintain strong military power? Chariot warfare tactics. What are the key documents found in the literature and records of the Mycenaean civilization, indicating economic activity? Linear B. What was the main natural factor that allowed the Minoan civilization to flourish on the island of Crete? Mild climate and natural harbors. What method of document recording remains undeciphered in ancient Crete? Linear A. Where did the Dorians settle, the region where Sparta is located? Laconia. Who is the goddess of marriage and family among the 12 Olympian gods? Hera. Which Olympian god is associated with commerce, travel, and serves as a messenger? Hermes. What term describes the stories and legends about gods in Greek and Roman culture? Mythology. Who is the warrior that assisted Odysseus and was active during the Trojan War? Diomedes. Who is the goddess of strife that set the stage for the Trojan War? Aris. What was the court in ancient Athens where citizens participated as jurors? People's Court. What was the system in Athens that allowed citizens to freely engage in economic activities? Market economy. What was the welfare system in Athens designed to support citizens' lives? Social welfare. Who was the king that led the 300 Spartan warriors at the Battle of Thermopylae? Leonidas I. Who was the traitor that helped the Persian army circumvent the pass at the Battle of Thermopylae? Ephialtes. What narrow pass did the Spartan army defend at the Battle of Thermopylae? Hot Gates. To which city did the Greek army pursue the Persian forces after the Battle of Marathon? Athens. What administrative division did Darius I establish for effective governance of the empire? Satrapies. Which ancient civilization was the first to use writing? Sumerian civilization. What was the main commodity traded by the Phoenicians? Purple dye. Who was the famous Carthaginian general who fought against the Roman army in the Punic Wars? Hannibal. Which city did Hannibal threaten greatly but never managed to capture? Rome. What governance system, characterized by absolute power of the king, was a feature of Oriental civilizations? Theocratic rule. What traditional mourning custom did ancient Egyptian families follow when a cat died? Shaved their eyebrows. What color symbolized the emperor's authority in ancient China? Yellow. What special material was used in making mummies in ancient Egypt? Natron salt. What is the religion that originated in ancient Persia, emphasizing the dualistic struggle between good and evil? Zoroastrianism. What was the battle where Cambyses II ambushed the Egyptian army and won? Battle of Pelusium. Who was the formidable Indian king Alexander the Great encountered during his Indian campaign? Porus. During which battle did Alexander the Great fight against King Porus? Battle of the Hydaspes. What major material was used in the construction of Persepolis? Limestone. With whom did Alexander the Great try to associate his lineage? Heracles and Achilles. What was the language that flourished during the Hellenistic period and served as a lingua franca connecting the eastern regions and the Greek world? Koine Greek. What was the philosophy that developed during the Middle Ages in Europe by blending Hellenism and Hebraism? Scholasticism. What was the political characteristic of ancient Greek civilization? A system centered on city-states, polis. In what year did the Roman Empire destroy the Temple of Jerusalem, and who was the emperor at that time? Year 70, Emperor Titus. Who was the famous Carthaginian general who fought against the Roman army in the Punic Wars? Hannibal. What was one of the major battles where Hannibal attacked Rome? Battle of Cannae. Who were the main troops hired by Carthage to fight against Rome? Mercenaries. What was the main reason for the fall of the walls of Babylon? Persian invasion. What is the most important naval battle that Herodotus covered? The Battle of Salamis. During the reign of Nebuchadnezzar II, in which region did Babylon exert the most powerful influence? Throughout Mesopotamia. What was one of the basic tactics used by the Spartan army to crush enemies? Massed assault. What was the main tactic used by the Theban army at the Battle of Leuctra? Oblique advance. Why was the navy of the Carthaginian army strong? Powerful triremes and naval tactics. After the Battle of Leuctra, what position did Thebes hold in Greece? The most powerful military state in Greece. Which city-state first introduced the phalanx tactic in ancient Greece? Sparta. What was the Roman military formation that neutralized the phalanx tactics? Manipular formation. What tactic did the Spartan army frequently use when surrounded? Circular formation. What was the renowned elite unit of Thebes? Sacred band. What official ceremony could a Roman general hold after a great victory? Triumph. What was one of the conditions a general had to meet to hold a triumph in Rome? Defeat of more than 5,000 enemies in battle. What was the name of the large rectangular shield used by Roman soldiers? Scutum. What tactic did Roman legions use to draw in and surround the enemy from both sides? Double envelopment tactic. What was the name of the long-range javelin used by the Roman army? Pilum. What emblem did Roman legions carry to maintain morale in the field? Standard, Aquila. Where were the spoils of war stored by the Roman army? Treasury. What was one of the main reasons for the weakening of the Roman military in the late Roman Empire? Increased reliance on mercenaries. What was one of the major religious festivals during the Roman kingdom? Latium Festival. Which civilization passed their architectural techniques to Rome during the Roman kingdom? Etruscans. What form of government was established after the last king of Rome was overthrown? Republic. Who were the three individuals that formed the first triumvirate at the end of the Roman Republic? Caesar, Pompey, and Crassus. What law served as the foundation for the Roman Republic's legal system? 12 Tables. What is the famous expression referring to the day Julius Caesar was assassinated? Ides of March. What term was used to describe the class of farmers and commoners in the Roman Republic? Plebeians. What did the Seleucid Empire exchange with the Maurya Empire in a peace treaty after losing territory in India? 500 war elephants. Who was the last king of the Seleucid dynasty, and by which powerful nation was he deposed? Antiochus XIII by Rome. What famous phrase did Caesar declare after the Gallic Wars? I came, I saw, I conquered. From which region do the Germanic peoples primarily originate? Central Europe and Scandinavia. Of which dynasty was Cleopatra the last queen? Ptolemaic dynasty. After Caesar's assassination, with whom did Cleopatra form a political and military alliance? Mark Antony. Were serfs free to leave the land at will? No. What does the term Renaissance mean? Rebirth. What type of energy did the steam engine use? Steam from coal combustion. On which continent did World War I begin? Europe. How did Xunji view human nature? Inherently evil. What kind of society did Confucius aim to build? An orderly and moral society. What ideology did ancient Chinese kings use to govern? Mandate of heaven. What did Persian King Darius establish to manage the empire effectively? A network of roads. Whose support did medieval European kings primarily rely on? Nobles and the Catholic Church. What was the core authority of Roman emperors? Military and legislative power. Why did the feudal system spread throughout Europe? Need for social stability. What technological advancement greatly contributed to the spread of the Renaissance? Printing. How does emphasis on humanism change education? It prioritizes thinking skills and creativity. What communication technology was newly utilized during World War I? Wireless telegraphy. What lesson did World War I leave for the international community? The necessity of international cooperation. Why did kings seek to understand public sentiment firsthand? To ensure political stability and trust. What language did the Byzantine Empire eventually adopt in place of Latin? Greek. What is the Holy Scripture of Islam? Quran. What is the name of the large-scale war that began in 1939 involving countries worldwide? World War II. Which country did Germany first invade, marking the start of World War II? Poland. On what material was cuneiform primarily inscribed? Clay tablets. What tool did Mesopotamians use to inscribe cuneiform? Reed stylus. What is the most famous literary work left by the Sumerians? Epic of Gilgamesh. Apart from being a residence, what other role did castles serve? Defensive fortress. Germany and the Soviet Union once signed a pact agreeing not to attack each other. What is the name of this treaty? Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Where did Hitler die after resisting until the very end? Underground bunker. Which country did Portuguese explorer Vasco da Gama reach? India. What were the important technologies developed in Europe during the Age of Exploration? Compass and navigation skills. Who was the Holy Roman Emperor that contributed to the conquest of Italy and the development of Central Europe? Frederick I. How did World War I impact nationalist movements? Spread of the principle of self-determination. What was the main psychological state of trench soldiers during World War I? Extreme tension and fatigue. What was the main reason ancient thinkers discussed human nature? To understand the basis for social norms. How did Qin Shi Huang of China control the provinces? Established direct rule system. What is the high-altitude archaeological site left by the Inca civilization in Peru? Machu Picchu. Which crusade looted Constantinople? Fourth Crusade. Which dynasty led the Bourbon Restoration after the fall of Napoleon? Bourbon Dynasty. Which country was part of the Triple Alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary during World War I? Italy. Which party seized power in Russia following the Russian Revolution? Bolsheviks. What were the major Allied powers during World War II? United States, United Kingdom, Soviet Union. What was used as a new energy source during the Industrial Revolution to operate steam engines? Coal. What was the first island Napoleon was exiled to? Elba. What was the march led by Gandhi as a protest against the British salt tax, exemplifying the non-violent resistance movement? Salt March. What treaty divided the Frankish kingdom into three, leading to the origins of Germany, France, and Italy? Treaty of Verdun. Who was the commander-in-chief leading the colonial army during the American Revolutionary War? George Washington. What is the name of the representative amphitheater built during the Roman Empire? Colosseum. What is the sacred text of Islam? Quran. What was the economic cooperation program led by the United States during the Cold War to support the economic recovery of Western Europe? Marshall Plan. In the Age of Exploration, which regions were primarily colonized by Spain following Columbus's exploration of the Americas? Latin America. In which year was Julius Caesar, the Roman politician and military general, assassinated? Year 44 BC. What was the primary role of the Committee of Public Safety led by Robespierre during the French Revolution? Suppression of counter-revolutionaries. What was the official name of the military alliance led by the USA with Western European countries during the Cold War? NATO. What was the British tax law on printed materials that triggered the American Revolutionary War? Stamp Act. What was the space development race led by the USA and the USSR during the Cold War called? Space race. What is the land-based loyalty relationship between a lord and vassal in medieval Europe? Feudalism. What is the name of the wars launched by Europeans to reclaim the Holy Land in Christianity? Crusades. What is the name of the revolution that overthrew the Tsarist regime in Russia in 1917? Russian Revolution. What is the genocide of the Jews by Nazi Germany during World War II called? Holocaust. What are the two prominent planned city sites of the Indus Valley Civilization in ancient India? Harappa, Mohenjo-Daro. What is the war fought by Britain and France over North American colonies that ended with British dominance called? Seven Years' War. What is the severe economic crisis that started in the United States in 1929 and spread worldwide called? Great Depression. Which Scandinavian people invaded European coasts and voyaged to North America from the 8th to 11th centuries? Vikings, Norsemen. What is the philosophy emphasized during the Renaissance that focused on human value and reason? Humanism. Who was the leader of the Jacobin faction during the French Revolution who led the Reign of Terror and was eventually executed? Maximilien Robespierre. What is the international organization established after World War II to maintain global peace called? United Nations, UN. Who was the Duke of Normandy that won the Battle of Hastings in 1066 and conquered England? William the Conqueror. Who was the king that led the Mali Empire during its golden age of wealth in the 14th century in West Africa? Mansa Musa. Who was the person that contributed to the spread of knowledge by inventing the metal movable type printing press in 15th century Germany? Johannes Gutenberg. What is the conference where Britain and France allowed Nazi Germany to annex Czechoslovakia in 1938 called? Munich Agreement. Who was the explorer who pioneered the Silk Road during the Han Dynasty in China? Zhang Qian. What is the name of the political ideology of the 18th century bourgeoisie in England? Liberalism. What was the unequaled treaty Germany signed after World War I? Treaty of Versailles. What is the name of the wall that divided East and West Germany? Berlin Wall. Who was the leader of the Red Shirts who significantly contributed to the unification of Italy? Giuseppe Garibaldi. What is the name of the infamous concentration camp where Nazi Germany exterminated Jews during World War II? Auschwitz. Who was the German thinker who laid the foundation for communist theory with the writing of Das Kapital? Karl Marx. Who is the person who developed the World Wide Web, WWW, one of the foundational technologies of the modern Internet? Tim Berners-Lee. What is the name of one of the city-states of ancient Mesopotamia founded by the Sumerians? Ur. What is the name of the war fought for the English throne between the houses of Lancaster and York? War of the Roses. What is the name of the edict that recognized the freedom of belief for Protestants after the wars of religion in France? Edict of Nantes. Who was the founder of the Zionist movement advocating for the establishment of a Jewish state? Theodor Herzl. What is the name of the negotiations conducted between the US and the Soviet Union to limit strategic nuclear weapons? SALT negotiations. What are the jars called in which organs were stored during the mummification process in ancient Egypt? Canopic jars. Who overthrew the Qing dynasty and founded the Republic of China? Sun Yat-sen. In what year did the Berlin Wall, symbolizing German unification, fall? Year 1989. What is the tool used for recording information with knots in the Inca Empire? Quipu. Who was the prominent leader of India's independence movement against British colonial rule? Mahatma Gandhi. Who was the U.S. president during the Cuban Missile Crisis? John F. Kennedy. What is the name of the treaty under which Qing China ceded the Primorsky Krai to Russia? Treaty of Aigun. Who was the primary leader of the Long March by the Chinese Communists? Mao Zedong. In which country did the Arab Spring Revolution initially start in 2010? Tunisia. Which nomadic tribe triggered the migration of the Germanic peoples? Huns. Who was the anti-apartheid activist released from prison in South Africa in 1990? Nelson Mandela. What was the first standardized writing system policy implemented by the Qin after unifying China? Seal script. Which city served as the capital for Charlemagne of the medieval Frankish kingdom? Aachen. Who was the Portuguese explorer that first sailed around the Cape of Good Hope? Bartholomew Dias. Who was the third U.S. president that drafted the Declaration of Independence? Thomas Jefferson. What was the first political position Napoleon held after the French Revolution? First consul. Who was the British explorer that discovered the source of the Nile River in the 19th century? Speak. Who was the first emperor of the German Empire? Wilhelm I. What is the first large-scale revolution that occurred in Russia in 1905 called? ' 1905 Revolution. Which U.S. West Coast city hosted the founding conference of the United Nations in 1945? San Francisco. Who was the Carthaginian general that threatened Rome by crossing the Alps? Hannibal. Who was the emperor of the Mali Empire known for scattering gold during his pilgrimage to Mecca? Mansa Musa. Who was the British thinker who advocated for the separation of powers in the 17th century and authored 2 treatises of government? Locke. What is the name of the declaration that announced Japan's unconditional surrender in 1945? Potsdam Declaration. What was the name of the risky mortgage loans in the United States that triggered the 2008 financial crisis? Subprime. Who was the first emperor of the Roman Empire? Augustus. Which Italian city-state was the location where Machiavelli wrote *The Prince*? Florence. Who was the leader who led the Bolsheviks and established the Bolshevik government during the Russian Revolution? Vladimir Lenin. What was the name of the organization that led the Freedom Union movement in Poland? Solidarity. What was the war triggered by Iraq's invasion of Kuwait? Gulf War. What was the Italian literary work written to escape the Black Death in 1348? The Decameron. What was the rebellion against foreign influence in China around 1900 called? Boxer Rebellion. Thank you for watching until the end. We'd love to hear your feedback and historical insights in the comments. Your support helps us create even more history quizzes. Let's keep exploring together.